On today's episode of Locked On Cubs, we discuss Carlos Correa to the Giants. We discuss Christian Vazquez to Minnesota, and did he have the same exact deal on the table for the Cubs? Why didn't he come to Chicago? And a little bit about the messaging from this franchise and lack of transparency. Join us. Come on next.
Are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cubs alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Pleased to be with you for a Thursday episode. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Sam and I are lifelong fans taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. We continue a wild week covering the North Side as the big fish, Carlos Correa, is off the board. 13 years, 350 M's with the San Francisco Giants. Quite frankly, from my side of the glass at least, it was a much lower AAV than anticipated, as Correa was at 35 M's in 22 with the Twins. But another big shortstop off the board for the Cubs, and we'll see how they react, if at all. Sam, it was a late signing on Tuesday evening, and what were your first thoughts as this news broke?
So last night I was indulging in a little, one of the great rivalries in sports history, the Lakers versus the Celtics, and they treated me to another classic. And I was notified via messaging that Correa made the move, and I was really discouraged. For a while now, I had not expected the Cubs to get Carlos Correa, but for all the wrong reasons, because I didn't think they'd pay up and pay the years. I want to emphasize, and you may disagree with me on this, I think it's a really fair deal. A lot of people have been blowing me up on Twitter and say it's ridiculous. Why would you pay that guy at 41 years old, $27 million? In 13 years, $27 million could be an average player. We don't know where the market takes you, and now you guarantee yourself 5-6 years of elite shortstop play, which for the Cubs would intersect with a win now window, and then a guy that profiles beautifully to move to third and finish his career there. I understand there's a lot of injury risk, Matt, but there's risk in every deal, and
right.
The big point I want to make, and I'll pass it over to you, is what's so frustrating is Jason Hayward. I tweeted this out late last night. Jason Hayward is a great reason why the Cubs should make a deal like that. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because he proved that even in the worst possible case scenario, you can navigate around one albatross contract and still win a World Series and still have success. So you can't manage a team or general manage a team by being scared and being on a budget because of past transgressions. And paying Carlos Correa in 2035, $27 million, if that's going to ruin all your plans, then you need to sell the ball club, because it just isn't that big of a deal. People keep saying, oh my gosh, why would you want to do that? Guys, the game has changed. The markets have changed. If you want to go get really good players at premium positions, you must pay for that. And I do not think that is a bad contract, and I think that that's a contract the Cubs should have been lining up for. And we'll discuss further about other things, but it's on near the top of my list, the things that are just very frustrating.
Overpay really doesn't exist anymore. If it does, it's a totally different definition. I'm not really sure it applies to this market at all, because based on what you saw with Turner and then Bogarts, now Correa, even to an extent of Verlander, DeGrom. And so when it comes to the contract itself, 13 years, 350. Again, I think people are hyper focused on the years. And it's one of the largest ever in the sports history for an infielder and just any player. but the actual value in dollars is quite a bit less than I thought it would be. And it's very reasonable for a year-to-year basis for a team that exists in the number 3 market in the country, with your own TV channel, et cetera. I do think it's possible that as Jed Hoyer etches out his own path and perhaps is here for the long run and does an anti-Theo. He saw his mentor do his time and out. Maybe Jed is more of hey, I really am going to form a partnership with Ricketts, and I'm going to be here for a long time. And perhaps that he really, truly, genuinely didn't think this was a person to go out of your quote unquote comfort zone.
No shot.
And the other thing is, to get hot takey and meatbally, is Correa, that contract is for a superstar, of which he's not.
No,
he's not a superstar. He's a star player.
You're contradicting yourself here.
But I do think there's a lot of problems with this type of thinking. Yeah. Because there's never going to be the perfect time.
Never.
There's not. And when you have players in your system and even on your major league team that are ready and poised to make an impact in the major leagues, you have to add impactful talent. And so when is that going to happen?
Let me cut you off for 1 second. I still think there's a great chance the Cubs land Dansby Swanson as we record here at 9:15 Central on Wednesday evening. However, if you land Dansby Swanson and you don't land at least one, possibly two more impact bats, it's a diet soda signing. I was all in on Dansby Swanson when I thought Abreu was in play, Murphy was in play, Justin Turner was in play, right?
Right.
Correa, what Correa did for you, and I still love I still really like Dansby Swanson and thinks he makes the team very significantly better.
Yeah, me too.
But they need more bats. If it's just him, Correa was also that bad, right?
Exactly. He's the offensive force.
So you kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
Defense at a premium position and another bat at $27 million a year. And I just, it's funny. I have this problem at my day job. I think very micro. I think very short term, and sometimes I'll kick myself 6-8 months later, and I'm like, "Hey, why did I just do that just to get that done? I could have done something more, and I could have helped myself in the future." So sure. I am guilty of always thinking short term, but in this case, is it really that big of a deal 13 years from now? That's why, Matt, I just can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't, and I know people in your tweets where I was arguing with some people, I can't for the life of me think that Jed Hoyer is the one saying, we don't want to do a 13-year deal. I just can't. It has to be coming from the top. There has to be some sort of rule, some sort of budget, some sort of year thing that he's been told to follow. Because if not, it's such an easy deal to make it, and we could transition unless you want to go, and we'll talk about the catcher. I think that even proves more that there's obviously some type of a budget here or restriction or lack of transparency or something going on in the organization that we don't know that's keeping them from making these moves.
Yeah, I think it's possible they're not on the same page. We're going to get into the Vazquez deal and some of the messaging with the Cubs organization later in the show. I guess what I keep coming back to, and you're putting it really well, but just to recap is, You said that the team was going to be competitive for 2023, and the goal was for a strong winter. Yeah. And yet, in the last 7 to 10 days, every single impactful bat is just removed from the list.
Sure.
Each guy is gone. And so it's going to be hard to accomplish that goal without a lot of movement. There has to be movement. And that's why the Correa move was so enticing, or Bogarts or Turner, if you wanted to pursue
or
that
Abreu, or Vazquez, or Rodon, or Senga.
Because those are more players where, their value is so high on the
they move the needle
side of the baseball. Yeah,
they move the needle.
Yeah. They do. They do. And I guess it's hard. It's fascinating to see this play out in real time and be up close to it right now and be a part of it and follow it so much as we're doing, because I just feel like I'm in a little bit of a time warp, and we're going to get into that
Yeah, it's exhausting.
later on. So,
and let me just say one quick thing, Matt.
yeah.
If you weren't positive you were going to get one of these shortstops, I would have taken the Jameson Tyone money and added it to one of those guys.
Yeah, I think it's always, I mean, I don't know if fun's the right word, but I think it's always different to look at it like that, because
what if I just think
it's like fantasy baseball.
Yeah, I think they should have just tried to get that done first, and then
Right.
like if you have Carlos Correa,
Allocate elsewhere.
yeah, if you have Carlos Correa, you can go get it. You can go outbid the Dodgers today for Noah Syndergaard, maybe, or well, that's stupid. Outbid the Dodgers. I got a better chance of outbidding Bill Gates. But you know what I'm saying? Like, just get the priority done first, because it's like we were excited about Bellinger and Tyone, and rightfully so, but we were excited about that pending they were going to get a major shortstop and another two guys. So we'll see.
Well,
go ahead.
And that's the thing. That's the exciting part about Swanson, is for sure they're going to be very strong defensively. Swanson,
they got to
and
get
Horner up the middle, and Bellinger in center.
No, they should be strong defensively if they sign them.
And perhaps another catcher as well. But there was a good one on the board at the Minnesota Twinkies, locked up a couple days ago, and the numbers are out. And there was a report that the Cubs had a similar offer on the table. So we're going to break all of that down coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Sam, it is Bears and who this week? Bears Eagles.
I won't be watching. It's a World Cup final.
Bears Eagles. We got the Bulls in the midst of their season. If you want to bet on
dead
those
even,
teams, get information.
Dead even, Matt. Argentina, France. Spread is dead even. Bet online.
Really?
Yeah. Bet dead even.
Wow. Get all the latest odds and trends for every pro and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to the World Cup and esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So let me introduce this, Matt, if you don't mind, okay?
Please.
This is my entire problem with what's going on in this organization right now. And I preface this by saying I don't think it's related to getting rid of the core guys. I was on board with that. But this is what I don't understand. Christian Vazquez signed with the Twins yesterday for 3 years, $30 million. Jesse Rogers of ESPN reported today that the Cubs had the exact same offer, okay? But this is a paragraph from the great, I believe his name is Brett Taylor from Bleacher Nation. Okay, everything you Cubs, follow him. He does a great job. This is a paragraph from his article, just very small. Ready? For the sake of clarity, Rogers did say the Cubs were pushing to add a club option out of the end of the deal, which technically tilts the offer in the Twins' favor a bit. But Rogers was very clear that the option was not the deciding factor here. Vazquez looked at two nearly identical offers, one from the Cubs and one from the Twins, and actually chose to play in Minnesota. So what I don't understand is this.
So the Cubs offered 2 years with a club option.
No, 3 years with a club option after that.
Are you sure?
100%.
Oh, okay.
It says in parentheses after the third year.
Oh, well then that's a better offer then, isn't it?
No, because he'd probably maybe want to test free agency again.
Okay.
So there's two questions here. Number one, why did he choose Minnesota over Chicago? That's not good. Okay. But here's the second question. If it's close and you identify a guy as in need, go up to $33 million, 3 years, $11 million a year, right?
Or 36.
Yeah, or 30. Whatever you have to do at that point before it gets ridiculous to get your guy. Maybe that's what, we don't know any of this. This is all speculation.
Yeah,
but we do know that Jesse Rogers seems pretty plugged into this deal. And he didn't get that extra offer from the Cubs. It seems likely that Vazquez thought he had a better shot at winning with the Twins than the Cubs, and that's just brutal. End quote. I just, 3
Maybe
years,
he does.
3 years, 33, 3 years, 34. He would have come here. There's no way he was that dead set on Minnesota. Why? Why are you so dead set on a number? And why are you so stubborn?
It's very weird. I don't see why you wouldn't bump up the AAV from 10 to 12 and just call it, okay, let's bring him in. Because you need a catcher.
In Jed's defense, maybe he gets Navarez at a better price, but it's just almost like they're just playing this game. They were afraid to set the market. Now they look stupid for doing that. They probably could have got Correa 10 for 300. And it's it's frustrating because and this is to foreshadow what you are excited to talk about. The most frustrating thing is the lack of transparency to the fans. We still don't fully know what the Cubs are doing. We had a podcast title a couple of days ago. What are the Chicago Cubs doing?
Yeah, we were the leaders of the pack.
I thought, and then I'll give turn it over to you, Matt. I thought the plan was pretty obvious. We're going to get rid of these core guys and rebuild our farm so we have assets down there.
Okay, they did that. They did those two things.
It's going to take us about a year and a half. But when the time is right, which is this offseason, and when I say the time is right, I mean not just for the Cubs, but in the market, right? The industry, 4 great shortstops.
Correct.
We are
Many good players. We
are going to pounce just like we did with John Lester, right? Just like we did with Miggy Montero and Dexter Fowler, and try and put together. Well, Zobrist was before 16.
You're saying before 15.
Yeah, and try and put together a team that's very similar to the 15 team, but with not as much high-end prospects coming in, but a team that going into the season you feel excited about, you think has a chance to make some noise, and then after that year, everybody starts coming up, you spend some more money, kumbaya, you come together and you take a shot. That's what I thought the plan was. But as of right now, I don't know what it is.
It's one thing if you get beat out by a team of a similar market size. Then it's another to get beat out by a market that's significantly smaller in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They have the Mall of America up there, I do believe still. But you should not be getting beat by smaller market teams for the players on the margin.
Exactly.
You need to improve your baseball team in addition to the more headline signing with the players that we've only mentioned basically on every show, including Vazquez, and you didn't increase your offer. Now, if that's a player that you really wanted and firms up even the pitching and defense bucket that maybe you are pursuing, and maybe you're always pursuing it, we just don't know, then that is a priority that you bring Vazquez in.
Sure.
And you pitch to him, hey, you're gonna be a reason that we win again.
No,
and by the way, that's not fodder. It's true. He would be. He would be a part of it. Is he, is he integral? No, maybe not. But he makes your team better. And it's just, it's very befuddling.
Well, and I also don't really buy the whole he feels like he's got a better chance to win in Minnesota thing. I mean, really, it's pretty marginal at that point. There's something going on.
The Twins win like 2 games in September?
There's something.
They were awful.
They just lost Correa.
They were terrible.
There's something going on in this organization.
1-50 against Cleveland.
There's something going on in this organization.
It's not good, to use your phrase.
That is befuddling, as you would say it. And let's talk let's talk about the transparency.
I'm starting to get really tired of this franchise, actually. It's very tiring.
Well, I think pretty soon, if we don't hear some Swanson news, we pivot and do like a fun show, like a trivia show or
Yeah.
something,
Oh, absolutely.
just to get people. Because I feel like the Grinch, man. We just spread bad news and bad spirits, and if Argentina get beat on Sunday, I will be missing that program.
No, I will. I'll get some subs ready for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll do a different co-host for Monday's episode. Coming up next, the Cubs have a messaging problem. We explain why and get into that right after this. Welcome back into Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Hey, remember early in the winter meetings last week, folks, when there was a leak to NBC Sports Chicago that Tom Ricketts gave Jed Hoyer the green light to spend? Hey, remember on Friday when Crane Kenny, Cubs president of business ops, went on 670 The Score, the team's flagship home on radio, and said there is money in the budget. Oh, by the way, including funds that carried over from 2022, and that the team's offseason was, quote, only in the third inning, end quote. If this is only in the third inning, the other team's up by 7. And the messaging of this club and their actions is brutal. No one's on the same page, and they might even be throwing each other under the bus, which is bullcrap. If Kenny is throwing Jed Hoyer under the bus, that's BS. I know it's a big business, but be a human. You're going to blame Jed Hoyer? Clearly, there's a business side hangup. You only want to spend X amount for X years. It's crystal clear now. And you're going to throw Jed Hoyer under the bus? He wants to make the team better. What does he want to make it average? No, it's his job to make it better. His job might be on the line, as we've explained. Crane Kenny was out of pocket there, dude. Enough of him.
Jed said earlier this season.
That's disgusting that you throw your president of baseball ops, the guy down the hallway, you're setting it up to throw him under the bus. That's crap.
Jed said, I don't remember when this was, but he had a pretty good press conference at some point during the season about how, the real way to win games is run differential over the course of 162, and he wants to start blowing out teams. And you're telling me that's the same guy that's going to be afraid to go get Carlos Correa?
That's insane.
But you can't blow out teams and then manage your team like the Kansas City Royals.
Correct.
So again, to your point, it just doesn't add up, Matt. Jed's comments aren't in line with his actions. Crane Kenny and Tom Ricketts' comments aren't in line with Jed's actions.
They're not.
There isn't cohesiveness, or Jed is just getting paid a lot of money to be the fall guy, which is a fairly reasonable hypothesis. I don't know how front offices work. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But there isn't one scenario that makes sense to me why Jed Hoyer wouldn't want to sign or do any of those contracts. Maybe the Bogarts one I get. That at his age, fine. Turner, Jed does that in a heartbeat. Correa, I think Jed would do that in a heartbeat. There is no way he wouldn't. There's no way. And there's no way Carlos Correa didn't want to play here. I buy Turner. I really don't know about Bogarts. I know Swanson wants to play here. I know that. That I know. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, his wife plays here professionally. So it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Another thing, remember that article early on? Abreu was their number one free agent priority. He was off the board.
Yeah, he was the number one person off the board.
Yeah, and they said he was their number one guy. Remember?
I do.
And
they didn't want to go. They didn't want to go 3 years. Air quotes.
Yeah, right. I mean, Bellinger they got great. Tyone, Jed claims was their guy all along. Who knows if that's do hockey?
Well, you'd have to explain the fall guy comment, but Jed is from the Theo tree. He's ultra competitive. These guys were killers growing up. I can't imagine that he's a fall guy.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How if this isn't a question, but if
All right.
I had to summarize in one sentence why I am so frustrated at this organization right now, you want to know what it is? I haven't heard the Cubs and Carlos Rodon linked one time.
They've never been legitimately linked one time.
That that's all they need.
They don't want to. They don't want to go. They don't want. I don't know.
Like it just doesn't make any logical sense. Why wouldn't they be bidding if the money was there? Guys, I hate feeling like Sherlock Holmes here, but if the money was there and it was this cash cow green light,
this is too much, man.
No, Ricketts drum beating. How is there not an offer in for Rodon?
There hasn't even been a whisper.
How?
Not even a murmur. You know when you used to tell secrets in class? They haven't even done that. And are you telling me that I'm really having trouble getting over the Vazquez thing all of a sudden.
Here, let me play.
Tom Ricketts should be ashamed of himself.
No, don't.
You can't increase an offer to a catcher, please.
And that's the other thing too. A lot, and we could wrap. Oh, you're leaving the show? All right. Well, I'll just talk to myself. Guys, the other thing that's so frustrating is like I was all for letting Contreras walk, but if you're not going to replace him, then I don't want to do that. And then the other thing that I don't understand that's so weird to me is going back to the Tyone deal. Why not wait on Tyone, execute Swanson early, maybe even for a little cheaper than you thought, and then make a run at Senga or Rodon?
We got to get out of here.
I just don't get it. Don't get it. We'll pass some good news along. I still think they signed Swanson. If that makes anybody feel better at this point.
Yeah, and we'll be live if and when they do that. I think it may depend on the time. I think it may depend on the time of day, but we'll certainly hop on as necessary. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube. Smash the like button, please. Keep dropping those comments. Also, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods on the audio side. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now make your second, the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Locked On Sports Today is our 22-minute recap of the previous night in sports. It features local experts on each of the big stories, as well as the take of the day from one of the Locked On hosts. Tell somebody about this show. Exciting times here. Hopefully the Cubs match that as we continue our journey in podcasting about this club. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.